Welcome to the Loaf Podcast. This is a podcast for genuinely good people with a bit of an edge. People who want to help other people, unique people with a unique purpose. Our purpose is to find out what makes people tick, what's held them back and what's pushed them forwards. I'd love this to be as interactive as possible. So if you're watching on YouTube, please have a go in the comments and please read the show notes. Thanks to my sponsors, Verve Estates and Property Management, Darlington's finest estate agents and property managers, Neon Source, which is a sourcing company matching investors to properties, and also The Property Thing, which is the North's finest property networking event with a bit of business chucked in there as well. Thank you so much. Please enjoy. So hello, welcome to the Loaf Podcast. I'm here today with my humble assistant, Sir Anthony Boyce, and Guillaume Black from the Property Filter.
One day I'll be Batman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are my little Robin, aren't you? If you get dressed as Batman and Robin, mate. Guillaume is a guy who we greatly admire. You sponsor the Property Thing that we run. You're going to come to the Property Thing tonight and startle us with your tech knowledge and giving people the
I'm here for the sausages.
Yeah,
there will be some of those.
Sausage. So, like I say, you're a man that we admire. We've seen you at loads of events. You're prolific in the world of property software, and you are the epitome of go big or go Guillaume. No, go big and go Guillaume. Yeah, so go big or go home. Tell us about that. You've gone for it, mate, haven't you? Tell us a little bit about your early days and where you've come from and where you're going to.
It's a really good question. So go big or go home. So we had to grow into all of this, right? Because I don't come from some entrepreneurial thing, doesn't come natural. Although we joked about the English don't have a word for entrepreneur, right? It's certainly not what you'd think when you see a Frenchman. I've come from some small village in France. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a care worker. No one around at a corner shop. The most entrepreneurial people I know were like tradespeople. Like the carpenters and plumbers and stuff. It's not really a thing in France to have your own business.
Right.
So you go and work for some companies. I built bridges. That's what I had a career in engineering and things like that. Did a project in Scotland in 2014, moved around Turkey and other places, the Netherlands, etc. 2016, I moved here for a project, and then I moved around the country for quite a bit, do one bridge after another, until I got sick of it, basically, and started to be interested in property. And at the beginning, I set up a company just for tax reasons, as you know, right? You know very well, right? Section 24. That was how it started. And then you realize, I can put coffee and shit on this thing, So then you run expenses through it, and then it's just I just grew into it. So and then then you buy the books, you go to the seminars, and then it sounds like property is gonna be great and easy and gonna get rich, gonna be a millionaire next month, right? And actually, it's not as easy as that. We struggle for a bit, and we struggle with finding deals, which is really the number one skill you need in this game. So you turn up at viewings where no one's motivated, no one wants to do a deal. So and then you randomly book viewings based on the pictures, the layout, and then you only speak with vendors who are like just stubborn, and you're like, well, this is supposed to be easy, like look at Paul and all of these guys doing well, So where did we miss, So then we went back to. So it took us a while, So every time at that stage I had to grow into someone else. I had to grow into someone else. So we realized, okay, what are the fundamental truths here? And then I would say almost the contrarian truth, because what we had to do was really unsexy at the time, it didn't really appeal because people want the BMV of market and all this stuff. That is really, it's like great, but what we started to do was actually filtering all the properties that were on the market and finding all the low-hanging fruits, and then later on finding all the low-hanging fruits of the low-hanging branches. And the whole idea was to find the top 1%, the top 5% of properties we're viewing where the vendors will be motivated. And then they're worth you having a conversation, worth you doing a deal, and then the deals are in the follow-up. So we applied a lot of the principles we've picked up on the way. So the first one is very much that all your success in property are going to be downstream from your ability to find deals. And property is a people business. It's all about working with motivated sellers. Deals are found from motivated sellers. So we created the tech to find these, and then therefore, because then deals are made, not found. People are looking for deals, and they're like, nothing stacks on Rightmove. it's called the asking price, like, why, don't expect it to stack. Nothing is going to stack. So what you want is find the motivated sellers and then make the deal. So the third sort of truth was around, property's numbers game in terms of like the follow-ups and stuff. So once you know who you want to go and invest in the relationship, this is where you, therefore they're worth your time to go and invest in them. So your question was around, like go big, go home and things like that. So we had to grow like those little stages of realizing I could put coffees through the company. It was the first thing. Then realizing that actually there are some principles that worked, and let's do a bit of property, And then it's like, okay, so if I didn't think I'd quit my job at the start. Said, let's put my money into property. When I first started to go into the rabbit hole of property, I thought, I'm going to put all my savings into like a couple of flats, a couple of properties, and just, not bothered with mortgage and things. Then you learn about BRR, and so you just grow into this, and it's like, okay, so if I go into this, I might as well go full time in property. So then we created this tool, and we did enough in property, so I didn't have to work anymore, basically, and then this could have been it,
Mm-hmm. How many properties did you get to?
Probably just under 10.
And what strategies?
HMOs. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fair play.
Mainly. So I've got some flats.
Did you get an agent to look after that for you?
Yeah.
Wow. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Really
So
good.
all about the leverage, right?
Yeah. Got really, really good guy in Birmingham called Guillaume.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a really good model. He's really, really good at finding tenants, building the households. It's really, really. I don't really have to do anything.
Yeah.
And so this is long leading into answering your question around go big or go home, because then a little bit we did quite well quite quick. Once we understood these principles, we built a very, very ugly, clunky version of what is now Property Filter. It didn't have a name. We called it Le Software, right? But because we got some awards and we did well, people were like, okay, what's the secret? Could you... And then reluctantly, and to tell you how little of an entrepreneur my brain was like, well, go and build your own, like, why are you asking me? Like, could we get the thing? It's like build your own, So it started like this, and then people were nagging us. So we started to give it to half a dozen of our friends, like property friends, property community, and then we started to do quite well. And then they started to ask us more stuff. And like, okay, maybe there's something here. And then the next go big or go home, because we thought, all right, let's get a couple of hundred members to subscribe to this. We're set for life, But the problem is tech, it's like you're only 6 months away from being disrupted. Some kid in his bedroom will do something clever, and then just once you figure out all the ideas, this is the difficult part. It's very easy to go and replicate, and half the industry has copied us now. All people in our space, they've all copied us, like all of them.
How did you sort of get to your price point? Because that's a difficult thing, isn't it? It's thinking you don't want to undersell yourself, but you don't want to oversell yourself. How did you get to the price point? And have you had to have many price changes over the years?
I mean,
what does it cost?
The yacht he rolls around in probably had something to do with it. But,
don't get into COD wars.
Well, sadly, not quite yet. No. Yeah. So we wanted to be. There's no advantage in being the cheapest in your market, because if you want to have the means to provide a good service, a good product, you need to feed it. You need to feed the machine. So, and pricing is an interesting thing, because quality, price attached to quality. So we wanted to provide a significant better service to anyone that already existed at the time, and we wanted to be more premium, but equally cheaper than any of the more B2B type thing, because the people we work with are very much the normal buy-to-let, like property investors like you and I, who like do this on the side, or who seek to go full-time into it. We don't have a product for enterprise, multi-location offices and things like that. It's very much for two business partners, the likes of you guys, or like two life partners doing property. To
the likes of us guys.
Yeah, the likes of, I should have said that, right? So that's been we wanted to be able to provide the best service to this avatar of people who were us. So we've seen what property has done for us, and so we say, can we serve more of these people in this community, right? So we could have done a product for banks, and sell it, it's 10 grand a month subscription. All you need is 10 banks. and that's it, right? So, but we didn't go down that route. We wanted to have the impact to go and help more property people like us, be predictably successful at finding deals and therefore in property, and then achieve the life-changing things property can do for you, right?
So what now differs you from your competition?
The results, yeah. So there'll be other people with softwares of finding software about property people. The problem is because we've been out there so much, you can't go to a networking meeting now without hearing about Property Filter. We've been out there so much that people know they are let's say solution aware. It's like, oh, it seems like I need to subscribe to some property thing, to get moving, and then so we create this awareness, and then they might go and shop around, but they always come back to us because of the results.
You've got a real knack, haven't you, of getting, we say in the UK, getting in where a draft wouldn't. Have you heard that expression before?
English means.
But in the nicest way possible, because it's not just like you're like an omnipresent French dude hanging around. You're actually the guy you're fronting a lot of the events that I've been to, you're pretty much fronting the job up, so you must have in a way, not found it easy, but found that your competition aren't trying as hard as you.
Yeah, so we're very passionate about adding value to communities. So like as in property communities, like there's the overall pool of property investors, and then there's a proportion of them who are in communities. They go to networking meetings, they go to the property thing, they subscribe to some magazines or whatever. There's lots of people on courses and things like that. And then this is really where we sort of came from, like going into I used to go to a networking meeting a week, and it's how I picked up all these things, and build up these principles by just naturally being out there and sucking and getting as much of the knowledge.
So in the property thing, we do the creeping circle of death.
Oh yes,
don't we? And 20-second introductions. And when we ask people, where are they from, what are they operating in, what strategies, but what do they want from the room? Because if 60 people are in the room and everyone's got on average 300 contacts, and someone's got a challenge or a problem and a need and a want, there's going to be someone in that room that can help them. And some of the relationships and the JVs we see coming from that, fantastic. But you go around the room, you talk about people's, what they want, what they could really do with. And then you're like that. I'm always like that at the end of it. But, okay, so you want that and you want that and you want that. How many times have you asked social media for that? Such a lot of people are so frightened from social media and actually putting themselves out there. And networking events are their way of putting themselves out there. And that's great to an extent. But you've really got to get out there. You've really got to ask to present, even if you're only presenting for a 10-minute slot to give you that practice, and also tell people what you do, tell people what you do, tell people what you do. The three most important things in social media, and you've certainly done that, haven't you?
Yeah, none of that comes natural. I've been to a property networking meeting for the first time, and it's like, this is awkward, all these people with property, I've got the imposter syndrome, and everyone's been there for the first time, and then everyone's done a Facebook post for the first time. Everyone's looked at their phone, turned on the camera, and did some stuff with a French accent for the first time.
Oh my God, that's what I look like, yeah.
yeah. So you just need to grow through it, right? So so now it's quite natural for us, people say, oh, Guillaume, we see you everywhere and things like that. I don't think we're particularly good at the content making part, There's a lot we still have to learn, but
I would take that back after your little story or the reel today.
This was a special one for you guys.
Well, I think you should embrace it and run with that.
Special one for
Did
you
guys.
Did
you not see it?
Which one?
The one
Yeah. And he was extra French on that as well.
Extra French.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's heard me like this for 20 years.
Literally.
Right?
You regressed.
I regressed for
Why didn't you do it in France, by the way? How different is the property market in France?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I actually did in France before. So I graduated in 2011, and I went out to build some bridges as an expat. I was very grateful. I'm really grateful for this early career I had because I was an expat. I didn't have costs, right? I didn't have to house myself. I didn't need I only bought my first car sort of 4 or 5 years ago. It was always like company cars and stuff. So it's how I put a little bit of saving on the side, etc. And then what I did as an expat is I used to put it in property in France because I'm a village guy, right? So and I'm very practical. From the age of 12, I would go do the round and mow everyone's grass. And my dad, as a teacher, what do teachers do in France when they strike, right? So, so a lot of free time with my dad to go and mix some concrete. like my dad was
revolution.
my dad was striking a lot, but like as in not going to work when there were these industrial actions. But he wasn't on the picket lines. He was, getting me shovel shit in the garden, right? So,
Why did you go there?
Huh?
Why did you go in the garden? Why were you?
yeah. So he would go and buy some bits of land and build some barns and another bits here. And
Right, okay.
It's just like always like there was always some projects, or go and cut wood in the forest and stuff. And so it's just always been very, very practical, So that's why I did, engineering, but then, like mechanical engineering, but I hated the shop floor, So it's not like the sausage factory, it's not really something I enjoy. I need to see progress. And so I'm very concrete, very practical. So I went into like building bridges. That was outside, team, people, and then we have a big vision, go and deliver it. So I enjoy that. And then as I was working abroad and things, and I would go and buy property in France. And then it's the worst thing I ever did. So there's no like. So then I did all the mistakes you can think of, and then as I moved here, 2 years into this country, I kind of realized, okay, I might want to stay a bit longer. So let's see how this property thing works, right? So and then you go down the rabbit hole, and it's like, interest-only mortgages, buy, refer, refinance. All of this you can't do in France. So all of a sudden, I can generate positive cash flow from some, use the same pot of capital twice. So in France, the system is quite different, where everything will be repayment mortgages.
Right.
The interest rate is 0 to no fees. Like there's probably the broker space is probably a hundredth of what it is here. Like it's not an industry, right? There's not so many lenders.
They don't have HMOs and stuff like that. Like
they are, yeah. But if you think there's no like, I don't know now, but when I was doing it, there was no like licensing equivalent of licensing. There's HMOs, as in there are big houses you can put lots of people in it. I guess, but I don't know how it is now. They probably have some rules and stuff, especially in big cities. Paris, Lyon. And stuff.
Is there any part of the British property market that you could take as a strategy to France? Do you think? Is there any little tweaks that you think?
France is great for the holidays, right? But I wouldn't be able to run a business, start or run a business there,
I suppose the issue is there's a lot of land there, isn't there? Which is obviously what we're short of here.
I don't know if this makes a difference. Really, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like for me, it's just the old. If you think like you're complaining about the budget and stuff, like I'm complaining about the budget, but it's a socialist state there. Like it's just a headache. You can't hire people. It's like. The same way, the renters reform bill. Imagine you've got the employees reform bill where you can hire people, but you can't sack them. It's like, this is France. So therefore, you don't hire people, such a headache.
Yeah.
And then it's just that, if you think we pay more, we pay a lot of tax here, you'd pay even more tax there, Like it's probably, I don't know, it's probably like 40% more than what would you pay here as an employer. Like.
I think it's similar in Spain. I know lads that have done, gone to buy stuff in the Alps so they can run a chalet there and all of that kind of stuff, and they just say it's absolutely, the red tape is just insane.
And they have a summer.
Yeah, I know.
Roughly, I think it's great. It's great for the holiday. Like make your money here, go on holiday there.
That's why so many people retire there, but they maybe don't want to work
I suppose
there.
make your money.
So
make your money in the UK.
That's my whole thing is get done here. And then just go and live in a camper van in France for about a year, and while I work out what I want to do with the rest of my time. And I've been watching this couple on YouTube called Stricken Fran, and they're just a young couple that are just searching around the coast of Queensland at the moment, just setting up camp on beaches and capturing lobsters and just fishing and just doing awesome stuff. And I'm like, that probably costs them next to nothing to do. Why did I feel like I needed millions of pounds worth of property? But I mean, you're the next scale up again.
But from just going on this French thing, like it's I'm a bit the reason why I could make it work here and I couldn't make it work in France. I'm a bit concerned. This was a great place to do business, but I see what the other side of like socialism can do, and I'm a bit concerned that they could fuck it up in the same way it's fucked up in France, right? So the whole attitude around like punishing people who have their own businesses, like we create all the growth here, the small businesses, and you create all the jobs, so it's like, it's really, it doesn't really make sense. It's like, yeah, you want to give workers rights and things, and we raise more taxes, but it has to come from somewhere. So if you prevent any growth, you just become an orphan of growth.
It becomes like you just feel insulted, don't you, by the socialism, the way that it kind of works and the way that it just sort of punishes entrepreneurialism. They say they're not going to, and they're all pro-business and this, that and the other, but it's just not. It's just, I've just found it insulting over this last couple of years. But then in a way, in every adversity lies the seed of a greater benefit.
Yeah.
My favourite expression, because it's made me kind of go, do you know what? I am done here. Let's just finish up what I've got, tidy everything up, and whatever's left is whatever's left, and I'll just go and...
He says starting an estate agency and...
Well, do you know what, right? Shout out to Louis Holmes with that, because I've finally become a little bit of a helicopter entrepreneur there. I'm just hovering above the flight deck with it. But Louis and Sal do 95% of the work with that, and that's not exploitative.
I'm going to say maybe just say no. I do at least 25%.
Yeah, I mean I'm bringing but it's not true. That they're literally like a well systemized machine, and they're providing opportunities for themselves and whatever. In Louis in paid employment before, now with half of a company is going to do 5-10 times more than that. And also build something, but it's also building something for me. And being the grafter that I am, almost makes me feel a bit guilty in a way.
But you do lots in partnerships like this.
But I'm happy with that guilt, because every other partnership I feel like I've pretty much volunteered to and done all of the work because of my perfectionism, wanting to do something so well. And I think now starting to become a helicopter entrepreneur, what I'm bringing is this kind of thing. It's PR. The property thing, the people that I know, we've sold quite a few properties where people have just rang me up and said, can you list my property, or which is because so many people ask me questions. Had a friend the other day, Paul, who's the best agent to put these 4 flats on with in Darlington. I'm like, we've got the agency for you, mate. Sign him up the next day. So, to become that entrepreneur, but You've created a monster, but a real nice looking monster. And I didn't realise, I just asked you in the car on the way down, how many people have you got working for you? And I was quite astounded by the amount of people that you have actually got. And that's a lot of wages to pay, it's a lot of work to do. But tech startups are all about, you're piling money in at the start, but you've got such a good strategy, you've got great investors, and you've also had some fantastic mentors. I mean, tell me about all of that.
Yeah. So there's different types of businesses. They're like lifestyle businesses, like 6 figures, runs all year long, but you can't really scale them. And then others are more like J curves. So restaurant, for example, is a J curve. So you invest in all the kitchens and everything, and you lose money before you start making money. And in softwares is the same, right? So you get quite a bit into it, in the product, in the service, and figure out what works. And then hopefully, right, because I'm still not above the line yet, but it should go quite well. I'm not above the line because I'm obsessed about improving the product, so we plow everything back into the product, right? Yeah. So that's kind of the culture. And it's interesting you said about partnerships and things. So nothing of what I did in property, in business here in Property Filter, I could have done on my own. So I think one of the best thing you can do is recognize your be self-aware. What is it that you're good at, and in flow. So what can you do that every day that doesn't sound like work? I'm here talking with you guys, talking about sausages and shit. And I'm having a great time.
We haven't got onto sausages yet.
I'm looking forward to it, guys. So it's going to come, right? And then the rest of the team, they'll be petrified about the idea of, and do you mean the cameras would be running and this is going to be recording? It's not their flow, right? And then you grow into a flow as well. None of this was natural to me like a few years ago. I think if you value things like grow, learning, genuine curiosity about things, and you just want to, you're just curious about things, about how things works and improving yourself and doing things a little bit uncomfortable and then before they become comfortable. So I think the first thing for me in the dynamics of so it's working in partnerships. So I always sucked at all the details, So I used to run projects and things like that, like big bridges and things. But it was all I was a very much people sort of leaders, and I know the paperwork was a bit sloppy, right?
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
But you are a natural leader because people gravitate towards you, and I think that comes from a demeanour of gratitude. You take the piss out of yourself at events, which is fantastic, saves us doing it.
Value and wanting to help. I guess that's what I've taken from that. It's
you're
adding
interested.
value to communities, to people. You'd say you could have taken the 10 grand a month from a bank and stuff, but you wanted to empower kind of people to succeed in their own sort of property journeys as well. So people sort of gravitate towards them type of people, don't they?
Yeah. I guess, like not being, don't be a prick type thing, like the usual advice, right? So don't leave crumbs, so people are, I've come across, it's interesting because you go through these things and you go through the levels and you got people that come and go, and you got always the takers, like take, but you can only take so much before you're blacklisted from places, right? So that's quite interesting, and you don't assume people are like this because you assume everyone is like you, so it's quite interesting to I've learned a lot about the humanity, right, or people, right, in general. So it's been quite an interesting thing. So
leave enough meat on the bone for the next man. The people that try and poke you. I've been selling my own property at the moment. I'm looking to downsize and get rid of. God, I've skipped loads of stuff when I move house. But I'm really intent on becoming minimalist, buying something that's knackered out in the country, renting somewhere for a couple of years, getting some cash on the hip. Finding that perfect chocolate box potential barn or old farmhouse or something like that out in the country, because I'm 53 now, and it's like I hate moving house. Whatever my next move is my move to somewhere that I can either build workshops. It's got workshops. I want an art workshop, a woodworking workshop, a couple of garages for my cars and bits. And I don't want a big house. I want a house that you can heat it with a candle, fully insulated, all that kind of stuff, just to get cost. Because when you're growing businesses, it just costs so much money, and you think, wow, this is just insane. And why have I been doing this all of this time? And now that's all right doing that, but when the government bring out the likes of previous government clause 24 tax, when they're kind of saying, you're not grafters, when they're kind of like, oh well, we're just gonna.
Yeah, you're not a working people, are you?
Yeah, you're just gonna bash. I'd like to look at Keir Starmer's timesheets as opposed to mine over the years, and it's just like a kick in the face sometimes. But then the good thing about that is I've just kind of gone, I'm done by 55. You'd be done by your 40. I mean, if do you think sell out in maybe 4 years or?
Yeah, so that's the talk about the go big, go home thing earlier. You have no choice. So we realized this couldn't be a lifestyle business. It had to be a J-curve thing. And then there'll be a point where you have to sell, because then you can't grow as fast. I'm not going to be the best person to push it, right? So you have no choice. So when we were lying to ourselves, we thought, oh, let's have a few hundred subscribers, members, and then we're set for life, right? And you have no choice. If you are static for a few months, you're dead, right? So even though you're innovative and you had good ideas before anyone else, like everyone is copying us at quite a pace. So we have to build faster so it's build or die. It's like not go big or go home. It's build or die. But then on the other side of this, you have it's an exit. Startups, you create a big capital event on the other side, and try to maintain the culture and things and the legacy of what you've created into like the next buyer. So.
Could you have not? I've noticed with certain sort of property training entities that their head offices are in kind of Liechtenstein. Have you ever looked at any sort of creative tax strategies like that for your businesses going forwards?
No, not really. And to be fair,
software's so transitory. You could be anywhere. Your servers could be anywhere. Couldn't they?
So we've not really looked into that. So I don't know. Because we've not really made money. We never had the problem. I guess we have a problem some days, but. And we kind of prevented this from happening because we got a regional fund to put money in, take an equity stake into it a year ago. So it was called as the Mayor Fund in the West Midlands, and it was just based on some VCs who managed some government funding into some fast-growing companies, and then we did a deal with them, took a small share of the company, and they gave us $500,000. And then part of the thing is, we are reporting on the jobs we create and things like that. And probably I could exit them, or I could do whatever I want because I control the company still.
Yeah.
At some point, and then do some schemes and so.
Yeah.
I don't. So for me, I don't. It's the the dog and the wagging the tail. I think the tail wagging
Tail
the dog.
wagging the dog. Yeah.
So it's like for me, maybe later I'll have a think about this. Right now, it's like I've got all the money we make, we put back into the product. So it's going to be loss making for another few years, right? So because we're just plowing into it again, because it's go big or go home, So because we through cash flow we can sustain a team of 40 now. The idea is just putting it back in the product, in the service, learn, improve, and then every day I've been away for a few days in recent weeks because my daughter was a bit poorly and things, and we had to be in and out of hospital. And then I came back and the company was different, and it was just a few days. So it's just so dynamic. The team is just like, okay, today we fix this, today we fix this, today we fix this. And we're just obsessed about...
That's a great feeling, isn't it? When you've delegated away. I mean, you and your three...
Yeah, because I've got the 3 partners as well. So the team is great.
Yeah.
So we've attracted great people on the bus. It's a bit messy where who sits where in the bus. Still, we need to formalize, maybe sort of systemize things a little bit. But my other partners are just, we're all nutcases of work, right?
So when did you get into like wealth dynamics and stuff like that, and actually looking at the psychology of each individual person?
Yeah. So that's going back to like being self-aware of things. So that's really interesting because getting into property, this is where I was exposed to more entrepreneurial stuff, wealth dynamics tools, all the Roger Hamilton things, and all like Roger Hamilton's books is our Bible. Like it's like everything we do, we follow some of them blueprints because we have to grow through the levels, and then every time you hit a blocker we grew really fast and then we stall because we just need to change the way we do things and again and again and again. So we plateau like this every 3 months. It's like we have a sprout of growth, and then for a couple of months like we do the same thing, and he's just following these levels on his lighthouse basically. So we just follow this quite religiously, and the blueprints and is the Bible. Every week when we meet with our leadership team, we talk about where we are on those levels, basically. So, but going back to more like self-awareness things. So, I'll tell you a story. So, my one of the co-founders is my best man, and his brother, basically. So, I've known Florian for like 16, 17 years. We've done all sorts of stuff, right? So together and at my wedding when he did the speech, so he said, this is before we got into property, before we knew any of that shit, right? So he was with Guillaume's leadership and my sense of organization. This was his words, in French. These are like, and then just a bit of a story about all the stuff we've done, basically the two of us, because I had always brought the vision and like the vision. And he would build it, the vision, he'd build it, he'd organize the holidays, and I would get 40 people on the plane, So it's just, we had this dynamic. And then, so I got him to quit his job, vision, right, to come and do property here. So we started to do property together here. So, and then we started to attend those events and meet wealth dynamics and things. And he's like, the wire touched, this experience we've had of us being quite complementary, actually it's because I'm a star, he's a mechanic, on wealth dynamics, right? So it's just, and then we have now, so as we get we get coaching, education, like we spend between 50K and 100K a year on educating ourselves and the team, because at every level you need stuff, right? So we have a business coach at the moment, and he says, you two have got the healthy confrontation, right? So he calls it, because I'm like ideas and this, and he's like the details and now, and the problems we have to solve now, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. So I think it's really, really interesting. It's a very interesting tool, Wealth Dynamics, because it's super simple. So for example, 12 personalities, I find it's a bit more complicated. I don't get it. It's like acronyms and stuff, and the other is like energies and genius of different colors, right? I get it, right? So,
Yeah, the British version's 16 personalities, but you've obviously got less types of personalities in France. Huh?
Not as complex as us, are they?
So, yeah, I mean, so that was two of you, and when did the third guy come in?
Yeah, so
His
we started to do so when we started to attend the webinar, the seminars, read the books and stuff, and then you go out there and actually no one wants to do the deal, nothing stacks, all the problems we see people come to us with, we had this back in the day, all these limited beliefs that there's no deals out there, nothing stacks, and we were confronted with this, from this uninformed optimism we talked about, seminars great, and then you go down and speak to all the vendors and you go down to this valley of despair, right? And then most people give up at that stage. And what we did then was because we speak with vendors and no one wants to do a deal, so we struggled a bit here, doing loads of viewings, wasting our time basically, speaking with people who are never going to do deals. And then Cyril is Florian's brother, is more of the coder, so really is a programmer for machines and robots and stuff. And he had no background in building websites or cloud-based application, so he learned self-taught to build a little tool for us to say, let's go and qualify the viewings we do.
What's he on the wealth dynamics spectrum?
He's a mechanic plus.
Yeah. How lucky that you've got those three dynamics all in the one. Yeah, fantastic, man.
So yeah, you could say, you missed the bottom part and things, and it's when you start to hiring people.
Employ people, yeah. So you mentioned Roger Hamilton's books. What give me some resources that have been absolutely, essential to you. As sometimes you just read stuff for pleasure, and then you get into a certain business scenario, and you think, hold on, what was that book? What books have really meant something to you? You mentioned Roger Hamilton. What book?
Yeah,
was
this
that?
one is really one we always go back to. I think it's called the Millionaire Master Plan, which I think is a bit of a shit title because it's a blueprint of. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have called it like that. It doesn't. It's a bit
too cheasy.
Yeah. It's like another Grant Cardone shit, right?
Yeah, it's like The Lazy Man's Way to Riches, but it was actually a half decent book. I mean, I've got my team at the moment. We're making our way through Measure What Matters by John Doerr. So we're reading a couple of chapters a week. And some people are absolutely bang on it, and they'll do it. I mean, previous employees that I've had, it's almost like you're setting them homework. But I'm thinking, well, if we want to succeed as a company, and we all want to be paid better, and we all want to be doing, the top whatever in Darlington, it's like this is the stuff that people are super successful, and they feel that then they would like to write a book to share that with other people, because generally they're good people. I mean, they're never going to make fortunes out of writing books. I mean, they might make fortunes out of the mentorships and the subscription channels on top of that, but it's like you get fractionally distilled entrepreneur's brain in a book.
Yeah,
read
every problem
that stuff.
have been
but then
solved.
not everyone's that way inclined.
I said earlier, didn't you? I think as an entrepreneur, you think everybody thinks like you, and it's not the case, is it? Some people just do the 9 to 5 and want to go home and forget about what they've had to do all day.
And we get jealous of them and think, I wish I didn't have to.
Yeah, why can't I get a job again?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Getting jealous as you're going through the drive-through at
I'm looking
midnight.
forward to that orange B&Q thing in the future.
Yeah, when you retire.
Me and being Boise in there.
I want to be a 5-star general at McDonald's.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I sometimes sail with my cousin. I get invited over to the Cayman Islands every now and again, and he charters boats for wealthy Americans, and I help out with the serving on, and I'm quite a people person. I like to chat and find out who they are and this, that, and the other, and it's kind of nice to be talked to like the deckhand. I kind of like that. Can you go and get me this, and fetching and carrying and all that. The simple life, brilliant. I actually stopped a guy from getting attacked by a barracuda. He was swimming back to the boat. We'd all been on this Stingray sandbar, and he was swimming back to the boat, and his hotel keys were hanging out of his pocket like a little spinner. Right. And this barracuda, it was only about that big, but it would have had a third of your arse cheek off. And so I was like, "Hey, mate." So I didn't get a tip for that though. Yeah, good stuff, man. So you reckon exiting and all of that kind of stuff. What you get when you exit, that'll be for a big financial event.
Yeah,
it's going to be, because I just you can just see it going all in the total right direction.
And the valuations these tech companies get as well. Jesus, it'd be trillions he'll be going for.
I don't think so.
As a tech entrepreneur, how long do you have to stay on board for generally?
Afterwards, it really depends on
who's taking it over.
If I can exit it before exiting it, you don't need to stay around, right? So that's the, if you systemize stuff, you talk about the helicopter view. So
I was going to say, would you keep your toe in just to keep, a little share so it's still your baby, or would it be no? I'm going to go and.
No, I think like everything I do is I've got chapters in my life. I've got quarters in my years. I've got years in my book of life. Say. Everything is meant to. I like to start and finish, So, and I get obsessed about. I really get obsessed about one thing. So, a few years ago, some mate of mine makes me pick up running, and it's like it's going to be marathon, right? So I run my marathon and never run again. So I exaggerate. I run a bit more after, but
a bit like Forrest Gump, was it, across America?
Nah, not quite. But if I, if I had time, so then you can do all sorts of. You can take these things, even further, right? So I think so there'll come a time where my job will be done. So I don't do it in the pursuit of the biggest, can we sell it for as quickest as for the most. There's a lot of stuff we need to do before that. For me, if I continue like this journey I've been, from the village boy with a teacher dad and a care worker mom, going to another country, doing stuff like for me, all of this is a game. It's all a game about what do I need to become to serve, the team, to serve our audience, to serve our members, to have the impact we need to impact. And then as we go through the levels, it just requires me to grow into something else. And I find it quite interesting. I love this journey. So it doesn't matter if it takes me 5 years, 10 years, 3 years. It's just what do I need to learn? What do I need to become to go through this? And there'll be a point where, I was like, okay, this next level doesn't sound fun, This is like maybe if you do IPO, I don't know, maybe we will, but if you go on IPO, maybe then it's not fun, you have to deal with the board and the representative of the shareholders, and that sounds like work to me right now,
Yeah, you've got a few
how do you
more
learn
bosses,
about
haven't you?
Sorry. After you.
I was going to say with shareholders, you've got bosses, haven't you? Again, almost. That's what it would feel like.
Yeah. So today I've got control of the company, but I still I report to a board, right? So a representative of the investors and things. And it's good for like rhythm and accountability. And I trick myself into thinking I report to them, but really I could do whatever I want, just on paper, right? So. I think I will go and this will require of me lots of things, and I've got lots more to learn before I'm happy to exit, because if I want to go and learn all these things, I'll have to start all over again somewhere else, and fuck that, right? Not doing it again, right? So.
But they say if you want to learn something, teach it. Now that you've learnt it, you'll be able to go and teach other people to be tech entrepreneurs. Will you become a bit of a Hanif? I mean, tell us a bit about Hanif and his role and how you met him and how,
so it's really good.
How effective he's
so
been.
Hanif's really been super important in our growth and things like that. So the same way with teams, being self-aware with teams and finding people who have the same work ethics, same values, and will rally around your vision, but complementary skills, and you build your team of partners and then teams as in employees and things like that. You need to, for me, be self-aware of the skills and go and get them. So Hanif's been our first investor and advisor, mentor. I ended up giving him a space in the office, which is, he's now based. I speak with him every day. So he's just an incredible guy who've, he's had fingers in lots of different pies. He's done property at quite a, they used to source like 500 deals a year, 15 years ago, 12 years ago. And then he went into education. They run a big networking meeting. And it just, I think we align on the same passion for learning, I described earlier. He's gone through this, let's say, before. And then you get bored and you move to something else, So I recognize myself in there where he got bored of property. He stopped all of this together, all the teaching, all of this, and he went to do distribution in beauty and selling buckets in B&Q and plasterboard and distribution centers. And it's like, what's the next thing in the game? You want to learn the next skill. So and then I think so. I'm a student of Saj. Back in the day, I did a course with Saj Hussain, and Saj seen us, building this property filter. and he goes, I need to meet with that guy, right? Which I knew of because he's a speaker. He done some stuff for Simon or something. Just been on a panel for Simon or something.
Simon Zucci, yeah. So that was Hanif Khan that we were chatting about there. And what's his networking event called?
He's not
part of
years
that
ago.
anymore.
So he just said like he used to do these things, and then what happened? Saj introduced us, and it's interesting because he would give he will help. I really love the whole attitude he has about it. So he will add a lot of value. He will help you say to fix your problem. Go and do this and that, and knowing full well that 80% of people don't do.
Yeah.
And then he's like a year, like months later or a year, it says, "Oh, you actually done it, you know."
Right.
And can you? And then what have you done? Oh, that's interesting. Come to my office. Let's have a chat and so on.
Great selection process, and he
Yeah.
appears to be one of these guys who's kind of hungry, not greedy. He's
So
not
most
like,
generous,
I'll take 50% of your business to do. It sounds
no. It's
to me
like it's no brainer, right? Right. And I think we took a liking in one another as well in the value, the journey, the growth, the work ethics, and he's a big picture, big idea guy, and I think he likes working with us because we are a team of builder executor, you know. So it's a very good balance, and it works really well. Yeah.
How have you held yourself back over the years? Is there anything, if you could go back, you sort of look at a period of your life and think, I really held myself back there, or I wish I'd been different in that way? And sorry, actually, before you answer that question, how do you keep a track of yourself, your goals? Do you write stuff down? Do you journal? What's your personal development?
Yeah, so I've got phases where I get excited about a methodology. I'll do it for a while, and then I move to something else. So. Yeah, I learned journaling. It did me really well for a period of time, and now I've got. I'm quite clear. I think journaling helps you really well with like clearing the muck. You know, like all the shit you might have, the lies you tell to yourself. You know, so for a while I said, I really want to go full time in property, but you still book holidays. You know, so it's like you need to go and write about all of this to. Dig the muck out and say like you're lying to yourself, you little prick, right? And then you become really honest about yourself and ruthless, and you tell yourself your little truths. And I think journaling is a great place to go and do this because you don't spin around at the surface level of things. When you put your thoughts down, you then get to audit your thoughts and think about your thoughts. You know, so you put your second layer and then you think about the things you thought about what you thought, etc. And you go deeper like that. And for me, this is what, you pick up all the lies you tell to yourself, the limited beliefs you have, and then you expose all of that, and then you have a strong kind of conversation with yourself. So I don't really have I install a routine for a while and then I move to something else. It's not like I eat a sausage every morning and like you guys.
We do. So this is a bullet journal, and this is the only place that I really try. They say you've got to keep down your inner critic and all of that kind of stuff. This is the only place when I kind of have 20 minutes beating the shit out of myself on the morning of hold on, yesterday you did that, you did that. I watched this video on YouTube of this Australian guy. And if you just sort of Google vomit journal and, venting, obligations, mindset, ideation, and trajectory. And so I try and break my day down into that. But sometimes I freestyle with it, and it is really handy to do that.
So there's to answer your question, there's phases where I go deep into, I obsessed about fixing one bit. And then I'm like, okay, I now see a law of diminishing return here. It was great taking cold showers for a few months. I don't get anything from what's the next thing, And then I sort of keep myself entertained on this like that. But I think the quicker you can have a mission you need to fulfill, and you have no choice but to do it. All of this is folklore for me, so it's great. But it's not a must,
That cold stuff, mate, is just the personal development from hell, isn't it?
It's interesting. It serves a purpose,
I used to give
But for me, you've done it a few times, you learn a few things, and then I move on. So maybe I'm operating in a suboptimal way because I'm not super routine, and I break my routines and I change every day and things like that. So I'll journal heavily for a few months, and then I don't journal for a few years,
Yeah.
And it's just
As long as you keep that bit fixed and then move on rather than jumping around and letting other fires start again in the background. I did that cold water immersion, by the way. I've got a friend, Anthony Hutton, who does a Never Throw the Towel In project about like helping out with, male suicide and things like that. Awareness about it. And we jumped into this pond in February, and I just couldn't help but think about those poor fuckers on the Titanic.
Have they come back down yet? Or?
Mate, 2 minutes in that thing was just, oh my God. Yeah, that was painful.
I have a cold shower to wake myself up every now and then. I wouldn't say I'm religious at jumping into ice buckets. I've never subscribed to that. But
every 2-3 years.
When I haven't paid the Alecki bill. Because go big or lose your home. I think I'm subscribing to it.
So I think it's to speak with people who think, I didn't have my perfect routine, therefore I'm gonna have a shit day. Like none of this matter. This is all stories you tell yourself. I think you need to, you want to have a big enough drive that it's important enough for you, that you care enough for it. And if work looks like work with people that love the thing that look like work and do the shit you love doing, And it's maybe easier said than done, but maybe this is the time where it's worth going and journal, So there's a period of time where you need to get clarity, like stop lying to yourself and things. That's a good phase, a good, like chapter to go and journal, And then maybe the next problem you need to solve is, how do I actually execute on this, And then you need to find more hours in your day. So maybe your next little personal development thing is, I time tracked for like 3.5 years. It served me well, but then it became an admin thing that, I didn't really do it. So it's just what do you need? Do what you need to do, but be self-aware, about what is it you are in flow. Be self-aware what problem you're trying to solve right now, and just play with these things, So
yeah, life's an exploration. Eh? What software did you use for your time management, or was that something you created yourself, or was it written down?
As in like task and stuff. So I've tried all sorts.
Time management.
I used to track my time on Clockify. So it was more like you start and stop. It's like a toggle. So you start and stop, and you audit your time, and you're like, oh, surely I can't be doing this shit anymore because, I'm spending 20% of my week doing things someone else, a third of my pay grade could be doing. So it's how you kind of learn to delegate a little bit. But now I kind of, I kind of understand. I've kind of nailed the things I need to do, the things I don't need to do. So I don't really need to do this anymore. And in terms of tasks and things where I'm shit at it, so it's at the end I've tried all sorts, like spreadsheets and Asana and things, and I'm back to pen and paper. Yeah.
Have you had to sack many people over the years for not reaching the grade? And are you
really
happy with your metrics?
Not really, but probably of my own fault.
Wrong choice.
Yeah, no. It's because we've never really had strong systems of things. So it's like people are okay, but you can't really measure if they are really okay. We don't really know. So everyone's always had the benefit of the doubt so far. In the main, but it's a different things we need to fix. It's just a different level of things we need to look at, right? So.
Do you know when you've got a few people on and you have an hour meeting and you think, God, that meeting's just, you add everyone's hourly wage up and think, even just that meeting costs that. For that, we've got to rent that many houses out per week, month, whatever, I often put things into those kind of metrics.
Yeah, but the cost of non-alignment is massive. So, you learn concepts you didn't know you needed, right? So one of them is alignment. So it's like, because it's very easy. So even between the founders, so we think we know where we're going, and then we just go plow down work, 15-hour days, 7 days a week, like for years, and then within months, you're like, oh, I thought we were going there, and it's like we have like very, very different idea of where this is going. So, and we had to do did this work a year and a bit ago, where we had to have someone external to just help us run some workshops to help us just bring people back. So now we try to have a rhythm where we are regularly. So with the founders, it's kind of okay. But then you need to have this meeting rhythm with the team at different levels, right?
Cool. So how can Property Filter help with planning gain for on land?
Yeah, so it's so you'll be looking at you'll be looking at properties that are maybe like prime for development. There's lots of PD rights you can apply to it. So then the idea with this is when you can filter down those properties with this criteria, and then the idea is to find the low-hanging fruits from the low-hanging branches. So it's speaking with these vendors where they had sales fall through and all sorts of indicators that tell you they might be happy to do a deal.
I wouldn't expect you to say what, but is there anything that any of your competitors do that you think, oh, that's a nice little toggle that we'd love? Do you always have are you always looking at
so
your
you can go,
competitors?
if you think, if I can go really broad, there are softwares where they manage properties, property management software. There are things where they do like tenant referencing, and I can go really broad, So I'm not too concerned about what someone that might be seen as a competitor do, because they don't serve the same people. I don't really care, right? So we know what our people need, and we build the shit they need to get better at finding the hidden deals in their area. So I've given you some far examples to say, of course there's you go and buy letting software from somewhere else, but it's not because it says property and software in it that we need to have everything. So I've shown you how far this can go, but it's true for maybe something in the periphery where actually this is great for a more what Barrett's needs. It's not what we're going to build, right? Which is maybe they're looking for deals as well, right? So it's being I think being authentic to the people you're trying to serve, and for us it's the moms and pops of property who want to have build a legacy, change their lives, go full time, don't need to work anymore.
If you go in, I guess you're more sort of inch wide, mile deep.
Yeah,
to
you have
serve
to be,
the people, because the demographic that you are serving in the world of property, as you always say, property is the world's favourite sideline. It's the world's favourite side hustle, and such a lot of people want to make it their full time side hustle. You've got such a big audience there. It is just a case of keep reaping those in, isn't it? And making sure that you're serving each one of them individually with a great software.
But it's a really good question. It's really hard and easy to be distracted, because I'll do a demo to 100 people and then they'll have 100 different views. So there's a book that's really interesting for anyone who wants to create products like this. It's called The Mom Test.
The Mom Test?
The Mom Test, because it teaches you a way of asking questions in a way that even your mom can't lie to you. Because if I go oh, look at this software I built, mom, isn't that great? Amazing. It's amazing, right? But the problem is if you talk to customers like this, everyone will tell you it's great. And then when it's time to buy, nobody gives a shit, right?
Feedback's a gift.
Yeah, but there's a science of how to get feedback, and you need to be sure you speak to the right people, right?
I mean, I always recommend a great book. Chris Voss Never Split the Difference when it comes to negotiating. We mentioned it in the room when we were at a property investor show the other week, and a guy ripped it out of his bag, didn't he? I've got one. It was Charlie in the Chocolate Factory's golden ticket, wasn't it? Willy Wonka's golden ticket. Yeah, so that was a great do. That, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you're a fantastic. You're really quite diverse in what you get asked to do. You'll be comparing it. Property do like that, or presenting your own stuff, and it's just such good PR to get out there. When I joined the Navy, having not done great at school, I just volunteered for everything, and I found I actually enjoyed it. Who's going to do a presentation for visiting headmasters and stuff like that were coming onto the ship as we went around the country on the oldest ship in the Navy, when we should have been in the West Indies, but that's defence codes for you, right? And and to actually practice that and to do that, it's like another arrow in your quiver, isn't it? So you get asked to do all sorts of stuff, and you do a great job of it, mate.
Yeah, I don't say yes to most things.
Right.
It needs to serve our members, it needs to serve our customer, it needs to serve the message. And if it's a bit irrelevant, so I could go and do some stuff about business over there, but it's just it'd be maybe interesting for the audience there, but it's like it doesn't really going to add as much value as we could, like today with property people, or so it doesn't. You need to be ruthless with your time, So it's the most precious thing you have. And most people think, most people don't value their time, and it's how they end up having zero results and zero traction in whatever they endeavor, because they think their time is free, and therefore they they expand it to stuff that don't really matter, and then the opportunity cost of doing the wrong thing means you miss out on all the other stuff. And we get lots of people like this who maybe they tried property filter a couple of years ago, and now they're coming back now, and they've done no deal in the last 2 years. It's okay, I think I'm ready to get some results now. So welcome back.
I think it's about, well, with you, it's energy and aura, what you project, but also your commitment and your consistency. I mean, picked you up today, we had some lunch, and then you're like, right, you've got a Zoom. You stick to that Zoom every week, and you're giving it the same energy and the same drive, and I mean, it's great what you do. So.
Yeah, and thank you for lending me your Union Jack sofa in your house.
Yeah, no worries, we've got some good pickies there. Anything finally from you, Anthony, as we wrap up?
No, I think it's been great listening. There's a lot of parallels with my journey, I guess. Although you've been successful, I've built up, chased those shiny pennies, and it's good to hear other people say that you need to, as I've learned, go inch wide and mile deep to really focus on what matters. Time is important, isn't it? Keeping your own time rather than saying yes to everything as well. So no, it's been great to hear your little journey. Yeah,
and it's bandwidth. Bandwidth is the biggest bottleneck to whatever you can do is your own bandwidth, because everything is downstream from you as the leader, the CEO of the company. If you are wasting your time on stuff, your team can't make it up for it. So
I think entrepreneurialism is a dichotomy of half the world telling you inch wide, mile deep, concentrate on what you're doing, do that, specialize in it, smash it to pieces.
And for long enough, we've been doing this for 5 years. We're not profitable, right? So.
Yeah, and then other sort of schools of thought are like diversify. Diversify, do different things, but then you're spreading yourself too thin.
Multiple streams of income, right?
It's up to each person to study their own wealth dynamics and get to what it is that they're good at, and I don't know, just keep cracking on and wing it like we all do.
but that's very interesting, because, for example, if you are starting lots of businesses all the time, and because you are a creator, you want to channel your creative energy into what bits of this business can we go and improve? So it's just channeling it to you can have the same fun, working this one thing really well, because it's longevity, I think. So it's doing the same thing for a long enough period of time, excellent period of time. What's the saying? So extraordinary results happen from doing ordinary things for extraordinary period of time, or something like that.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, right. What a fantastic thing to end on. We're going to get kicked out right now. I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but we will later on. And
thanks so much for
not recording.
Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your time.
Good
mate.
man.